In 1945, the United States detonated 2 atomic bombs over Japan, killing at least 100,000 people. The destruction of Hiroshima and Nagasaki would result in Japan surrendering to the Allies, which would effectively end World War II in Asia. This would leave Japan in economic ruin, struggling to find its place back into the world. Following its defeat, the United States would send nearly 1 million Allied soldiers to occupy it, helping to rebuild the ravaged country, stabilizing its economy, and preventing it from being remilitarized. The plan was to punish and reform Japan, turning it into an ally to the US, with the end goal being a formal peace treaty and a military alliance. Jin-Roh is a movie which was released almost 50 years after the bombings, which reimagines the time following the surrender of Japan. In this story, Japan sides with the Allies during the war, but it still loses. This time, however, it's actually Germany who occupies it, pursuing aggressive economic growth as their way of recovering Japan. While effective, this would leave many unemployed and cities overcrowded, turning them into slums. People weren't happy, and violent crime was at an all-time high. There would also be the formation of armed anti-government groups fighting for change, which were so powerful that they overwhelmed the entire local police force. And so, with their backs against the wall because of the new constitution imposed by Germany, Japan would form an elite military force called Kerberos to keep the peace. These scary-looking stormtrooper motherfuckers. The anti-government organizations would be forced to join together as one group called the Sect, and clashes between the two would turn Japan into a war zone. We follow one of the Kerberos soldiers who's part of an anti-terrorism unit who fucks up his mission so badly that it not only leaves him mentally scarred, but also the main focus of a bunch of government conspiracies that aim to change the future of Japan. If any of what I said got you interested in watching the movie already, click off this video and go do that, as I'm about to spoil most of it. If you want, you can come back after though. So, with context out the way, let's go through it. When watching a slower paced show, I always judge it a little bit more harshly. Something about a poorly written or boring show that also feels like it takes forever feels so much worse to watch, especially when most anime I watch is usually just fast paced brain numbing action that only occasionally also tells a good story. So if Jin-Roh didn't come correctly, it really could have been a disaster. But luckily, I left the show feeling satisfied for the most part. This could be in part due to its writer, who's often praised as a genius for his other work. You know, just some small show you probably haven't heard of. The movie starts with us following a young terrorist girl running bombs for the Sect, and we get to see firsthand the damage that she directly causes. She keeps running her bombs until she's eventually cornered by a Kerberos soldier, our main character Kazuki, who knows about what she's done, but seeing that she's still a child, he still hesitates to shoot her, letting his humanity take over. Behind those intimidating glowing red eyes is an actual person, who deep down thinks that he can save the girl. So does he? Fuck no. The explosion sends the young girl into the Shadow Realm, but all the Kerberos soldiers are alive. Kazuki even took the impact head on and he didn't get hurt, at least not physically. The incident damages the reputation of Kerberos, and Kazuki gets sent back to training as his punishment. His mind races with what the fuck happened. It replays over and over in his head, turning him into an emotionless man trapped in his own mind. A Redditor. In training, he's overqualified to all shit, but even the other soldiers notice that something's off about him, distancing themselves. Like the kid who wears fingerless gloves and eats lunch by himself. Kazuki's an outcast. So now we've got a depressed main character who blames himself for something that was completely not his fault. This looks like a great place for the movie to derail and turn into a dumpster fire. But it doesn't. Kazuki goes to the terrorist girl's grave where he runs into someone mourning her. It turns out to be her sister, who shares a shocking resemblance to her, and the two get to talking. We find out that she doesn't blame Kazuki for her sister's death.
How come you don't blame me?
You were both doing your jobs. It wasn't your fault.
Which is actually a pretty mature and level-headed take. The two hit it off, the girl seeming really into Kazuki for some reason, and before the split she gives him something, a Little Red Riding Hood book. You see, this is where the show kinda started losing me. It introduces us to this Little Red Riding Hood nursery rhyme, and then makes it the central focus of the entire movie. Everything that happens ties into the metaphor. The wolf's the bad guy, and Little Red Riding Hood's good, and the movie switches who each character represents throughout it, showing how flawed the idea of good and evil or black and white really is. It's alright at first, but as the movie goes on, it kinda gets obnoxious in a, get to the fucking point kind of way. That might just be a personal thing, as those kind of metaphorical undertones give me serious English class PTSD, where for some reason all the crazy teachers choose to teach. Anyway, Kazuki and the dead girl's sister keep meeting up and getting to know each other, eventually catching feelings, bringing Kazuki out of his emo kid phase and giving him something to care about. While all this is going on, Japan's public security division plans a trap to stage Kerberos and finally get rid of their biggest rivals. They plan to do this by using one of their former convicts, another terrorist bomb runner who also happens to look an awful lot like someone who blew herself up. It's the fucking love interest. She herself was a courier, but ended up getting arrested and convinced to work for public security. She was planted on the dead girl's grave specifically to meet up with Kazuki. The whole thing was a setup. Like, that's not even her fucking sister, they just look alike. Public security wants Kei, the girl, to call Kazuki and meet up with him, all while carrying a look-alike bomb. The whole plan's to get a picture of her looking like she's passing a bomb off to a member of Kerberos, shitting on the organization's credibility and marking both Kei and Kazuki as terrorists. From when the two first met up, I could tell something was a little off. There was no way someone would be that happy and open-minded talking to a person responsible for a family member splattering themselves against a wall, but I chalked it up to unrealistic anime writing. As you know, I'm used to a lot of that. But in this case, it actually made a lot of sense. The show's first twist is genuinely unexpected and raised my enjoyment of it significantly. It was a godsend as a break from the boring Little Red Riding Hood shit. Anyway, Kazuki takes the bait and even doesn't bring his gun, but apparently he's a badass and turns into John Wick, sneaking in, knocking out a few guards, and then running away with Kei. They get away, all while getting shot at, and go on the run together, hiding from the police. Kei comes clean to Kazuki and makes it known that she actually likes being around him and wants to run away with him and start a new life together. But Kazuki ain't no fucking simp. He turns down the easy way out. I, for one, had no clue what the fuck was going on anymore. All my expectations had been subverted up to this point. This show wasn't your average love story anime, and most of the plot points had already been tied up, so what was left to do? We cut to the two back in the suicide bomber's tunnels, where we're met by Kazuki's old Kerberos brothers. It's revealed to us that Kazuki's part of a secret undercover unit inside of Kerberos called the Wolf Brigade. Ooh, it's the title of the movie. The Wolf Brigade knew what public security was doing all along, trying to frame Kerberos, and so they planted a tracker on Kei, attracting all the people who want to eliminate them to a single place. And with that, Kazuki gears up in his Terminator suit, and the ultimate reverse plot twist, which actually got me to verbally say oh shit when I saw it. Public security's completely unaware of the fully armored Giga Chad waiting for them, and they make their way into the tunnels, and that goes about as well as you can imagine. And so, the conflict's over. Everything managed to work out. The two main characters survived and the plot wrapped itself up with a final amazing twist. But nah, we can't have nice things here. We gotta end it with a Mike Tyson punch straight to the fucking balls. The Wolf Brigade meet up at a junkyard where Kazuki's ordered to kill Kei, as they don't want public security to ever get her back or confirm her death, giving Kerberos insurance against them. And with that, Kazuki's back in the same place he started the movie at, pointing his gun at a female terrorist, fighting his own humanity. Kei, accepting the fact that she's well, fucked, starts reciting Little Red Riding Hood, and then when she gets to the end, Kazuki doesn't make the same mistake twice. And with that, he's given up his humanity, turning into a morally unshackled killing machine. Or the wolf of the story. And scene. Thank you. Anyway, is the movie good? Yeah, it's a pretty easy watch as it's a lot more simple than Ghost in the Shell, and it also has a couple holy shit moments to keep you interested in it. Do I think it's a 10 out of 10 though? Not really. Like I said earlier, the Little Red Riding Hood stuff felt like it was made specifically for the snobby film critics who sip wine with their pinkies up and take antidepressants. And the characters felt kinda dead. Not like this dead, but they just felt hollow. They have no goals and barely any characterizations other than emotionally damaged soldier guy and bullet sponge teenage terrorist girl. That's not even mentioning the bad guys, who are literally just the police, who want Kerberos gone. A story's characters are only good when what they do to advance the plot makes sense to their character. Naruto's dreams to become Hokage, so it makes sense when he does all these heroic things and goes on his journey. It works because we know what the character wants. When Kazuki shoots Kei, we know that it's to protect Kerberos or whatever, but does it match the character? I don't fucking know. Maybe I missed something, but I don't even know why he's so loyal to Kerberos anyway. When Kei asked him about it earlier, all that he said was, "It's where I belong."
It's hard for me to explain, but it was like I finally found a place where I belong.
I don't know, the show's good, but it still felt like it was sitting on a bunch of untapped potential. And while the ending did leave me with an empty feeling the first time I watched it through, looking back at it now is pretty bad. So should you watch Jin-Roh the Wolf Brigade? Yeah, go for it. It's worth watching at least once just for the sexy animation and music by itself. And with that, thanks for watching. Like the video if you liked it, call me a dumbass in the comments if you didn't. See y'all next week, if I don't delete my fucking script again.
Hold on, let's get this shit, let's get this shit, let's get this shit, let's top of the morning, 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 top of the morning. Hold on, let's get this shit, let's get this shit, let's get this shit, let's like what these niggas on like.